بعد جولة مغاربية اختتمها بالجزائر، مساعد كاتب الدولة الأمريكي أنتوني بلينكين يخص وكالة الأنباء الجزائرية بهذا الحوار الحصري.
U.S. Deputy Secretary of State, Mr. Antony Blinken, thank you for talking to the APS.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Can I start by asking you, Mr. Blinken, about your visit to the region? You've been in Tunisia, then in Morocco, and you end up with Algeria. What is your assessment of the talks you held with Algerian officials?
Well, we had very, very good talks with colleagues from the Algerian government, and I think it's a reflection of a deepening cooperation on a number of different issues. First of all, Algeria's leadership on issues of importance in the security area, from Libya to Mali to Syria to Tunisia, is making a real difference. And in each of these areas, we're cooperating and working more closely together than ever. But beyond that, what's so important is that we're looking to deepen our relationship in the economically, culturally, and especially exchanges between our people, including our young people. And in all of those areas, we had very good conversations over the last couple of days.
Yeah, great. As you've just mentioned, security cooperation is crucial for both countries. Looking at the regional context, as you said just now, what are the key elements that allow to forge security ties between Algiers and Washington to address the common security challenges?
Well, we're working together in Tunisia, we're working together with regard to Libya, and we're consulting together more and more deeply to try to bring peace and security to Syria. But what's very important, I think, is two things. One, it's the support that we can give to countries and governments that are trying to emerge from a security challenge. Right now, Libya is a very good example of that. In Libya, together, we've supported the emergence of a government of national accord, of national unity. And that government now is in Tripoli and established. And we're working together to make sure that the government can succeed, trying to support it through resources, through training, and other kinds of assistance.
This is for the Libyan case. I let it for the other questions about the Libya, but I'd like to say about the bilateral cooperation in terms of security. What are the key elements as you see it from Washington? What are the expectations of the American side?
One of the things that I think is increasingly important is the work that we're actually doing together. For example, looking to jointly train security forces, looking to help countries together develop programs to deal, for example, with improvised explosive devices, mines. In each of these areas and others, not only are we working individually, but increasingly we're working together.
United States support the leadership of Algeria in the region, and you confirmed that certainly in your meeting with the Algerian authorities. Did you?
Yes, absolutely.
However, Mr. Blinken, some neighborhood countries are not in the same wavelength with you, with the United States. What are the guarantees can you put forward to ensure the leadership of Algeria in such unstable region?
Well, it's a challenging time, but it's all the more reason why it's important for countries like Algeria to do what it's doing, which is to exert its leadership in working for security, in working for peace, in working for economic progress. And again, in a number of places, it's doing just that. Tunisia, we've already mentioned. Libya, we've mentioned. Mali, where Algeria's role has been crucial to the efforts to get a peace agreement. And now, of course, that agreement has to be fully implemented, both by the government and by the forces in the north.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Blinken. Do you have clear guarantee to provide to Algerian government to play the pivotal role in the region?
Well, it's playing that role, I think, by showing the leadership that it's shown.
But some neighborhood countries are not satisfied with such role.
Well, again, these are for, in each of these areas, we have strong relationships and partnerships with a number of countries in the region. And indeed, you mentioned that I was in Morocco, as well as in Tunisia, and now in Algeria. And each country faces different challenges, different opportunities. But with Algeria, this partnership, not just in the security area, but also in economics, in culture, in exchanges, in people to people, that partnership is growing deeper, and that's something that we're working on very hard.
Yeah, I'd like to say on the economic front, Mr. Blinken, as you are aware that the Algerian government now seeks to tighten its trade and economic ties with the United States outside oil and gas industry. Is there any progress at this level?
Yes, absolutely. First, I think what Algeria is doing is smart and makes very good sense, which is it's seeking to diversify both within the energy sector and more broadly within its entire economy.
Yeah.
And that's a smart move because in difficult, challenging economic times, especially if you're relying on one resource and the market takes a turn for the worse, absent diversification, that will make it more difficult for a country to succeed economically. So we're very supportive of this diversification, first of all, within the energy sector, where we'll be working together even more closely on things like renewable energy, where Algeria is making real strides. And then within the economy as a whole, looking to, for example, get into more deeply into manufacturing and other areas. There too, there's lots that can be done. Now, it's also important that the government continue to take steps to make the business climate as good as it possibly can be to attract investment from foreign countries, including the United States, but not just the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Mr. Blinken.
Please.
Have you received any positive indications from the Algerian government to clean and promote the business climate in the country with the new law of investment?
Yes, I think there's good work that's being done and progress that's being made. We had good conversations with the Prime Minister. We'll see the Finance Minister tomorrow. We talked to the Energy Minister. And with each of these key partners, we've talked about some of the steps that we believe would be beneficial.
Such as, Mr.
Well,
Blinken?
there are a few things. I think, for example, making sure that when companies seek to establish themselves here to do business, the process of registration is as clear and simple as it possibly can be. Currency exchange is a challenging issue.
Yeah.
Companies need to be able to repatriate money that they earn here. That's a challenge, and there's work to be done there. We've talked many times before about the restrictions on foreign ownership, the 51-49
Yeah.
Rule. There too, the reason it's important is when companies are thinking about where to invest around the world, they have a choice. They can look at
Absolutely.
different places, and they make an evaluation. Algeria has extraordinary strengths. It's very well situated geographically. It has an incredibly talented people, a human resource. But when there are things like a restriction on majority ownership and control, and another country, maybe nearby, doesn't have the same restriction and offers benefits as well, then the company may choose to go elsewhere. So this is in the interest, I think, of Algeria thinking about steps that it can take to make sure the business climate is as positive as it possibly can be.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'd like to move now to regional situation, starting by Western Sahara issue. The first staff of MINURSO, expelled by Morocco, has returned to the occupied Sahrawi territories to resume its mission, among them organizing a referendum of self-determination for Sahrawi people within the UN framework. As we stand now, Mr. Blinken, what are the key means to fulfill this objective?
Well, I'd say two things. First, we support the return to full functionality of the MINURSO
But
mission.
still Morocco blocked this
Well,
action.
it's moving forward. There are now about 25 people from the staff that have returned. There are more on the way, and we believe we will see a return to full functionality in the weeks ahead. That's important. Second, we continue to support the UN process that seeks a just, lasting, and mutually agreed resolution to the conflict. And we support the efforts of Mr. Christopher Ross, the envoy of the Secretary General of the United Nations, to move that process forward.
So are you in favor of launching again negotiations, direct negotiations between Polisario Front and Morocco?
We would like to see progress toward a just, lasting, mutually agreed resolution to the conflict through the UN process. And it's our hope that the parties will engage with in that in good faith so that this can move forward.
Let's move on to the situation in Libya. The UN-backed government based in Tripoli has reacted following France's confirmation that its special forces have been operating in the country. Do you believe, Mr. Blinken, that such foreign military presence in Libya, whatever the missions are, is the best way to help the ongoing political process?
Two things. First, the establishment of this national unity government was very important, and the fact that it is now on the ground, operating in Tripoli, is a very positive step forward. And together with other countries and with the government, we've worked to make sure that the resources of the state, through the central bank, energy, etc., go to the government. And we're working closely with it to support it as it gets on its feet. And we'd also like to see some actors that have stayed outside of the process to come in and be part of it. That's one thing. Second, with regard to military action, first, it's very important that any action taken be at the request of the government and with the support of the government, because that is its sovereign right.
Yeah.
Second, we are very focused on the security challenge posed in particular by the presence of Daesh in Libya, in Sirte notably. So are other countries, and this is a challenge as well to Algeria, to Tunisia, to other countries in the region. And we will take steps if we see a threat emerging to deal with that threat as we have in the past, but with the full accord of the government, in a limited and targeted fashion, and in full accord with international law. We all have to take steps to protect ourselves, but the best thing that we can do is support the government and have with the government a strong partner in dealing with the security challenges.
But the issue
in Libya.
here in Libya now is, as far as we know, that the operation that was conducted by French or foreign French forces there hadn't coordinated with the government in Tripoli. That's the bottom line, Mr. Blinken.
Well, it's important.
Or even green light from the Security Council.
So it's important going forward that the government in Libya ask for or support any military activities in Libya. And we're working closely with the government as it develops its own plans and thinking about how to better secure the country, how to better establish security, how to better deal with Daesh. The international community will fully support that.
And in other way, is the United States still support or in favor of political action or solution rather than military action in Libya?
Oh yes, the foundation of everything that is being done in Libya is a political path forward through the establishment of the government, which is now there and in Tripoli, through bringing people who've stayed on the outside of the process in and helping the government be able to develop its capacity to make tangible improvements in people's lives. That is the foundation of what we're trying to do. At the same time, it's important that we have in that government a partner to deal with security challenges, and it's important to recognize that if there are immediate security threats to the United States and to other countries in the region, and we see them, we will take steps to deal with them.
So you are against any presence of foreign military in Libya?
If it needs to be at the request of the government of Libya. If the government of Libya asks for assistance in training, in taking action, in supplying equipment or arms, we'll of course look at that request and respond to it. But what's important is that the government of Libya make those requests.
And this leads me to say something else. Some analysts suggest that any foreign military presence will weaken the opportunity of seeing a unified Libya with strong central government able to fight, as you said, ISIS.
Again, it all depends.
Do you agree with this point of view?
What I agree with is if the sovereign government of Libya is looking for assistance from the international community, including in the security area, then I believe we should provide that. But it should be at the request of the government and in support of its efforts.
Mr. Antony Blinken, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State, thank you very much indeed for being our guest.
Well, thank you for having me, and I have to tell you it's been wonderful to be here. We're here today at the American School, which is going to open its doors in just a month, bringing young students together from Algeria, from the United States, from around the world. That's a wonderful way to connect our countries and other countries going forward. And I have to tell you one last thing. I was at the Museum of Martyrs today, Al-Mujahideen, and it was a very powerful experience for me to see Algeria's history and its struggle for independence, for self-determination from 1830 to 1962, and to look at the sacrifices that so many generations of Algerians had made, and to see also the connections to the United States, from George Washington signing agreements early on, to Abraham Lincoln and his recognition and support for some of the diplomatic activities of Qatar, all the way to John F. Kennedy. And it's not surprising that there's this connection, because our countries come from a common root, which is we too sought our freedom and independence, just as Algerians did. And I think because of that history, that shared history, there's a complicity between us. And it was very powerful seeing that history in the museum today.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you.